At 22, you think rich people wake up feeling calm. That's the fantasy. Not mansions, not watches, calm. The kind where your phone buzzes and your stomach doesn't tighten. The kind where your card goes through and you don't secretly wait for the machine to hesitate. Right now, your balance is $842. Not savings, balance. You checked it 4 times today already. Once in the bathroom at work, once standing in line at a convenience store pretending to read ingredients on a protein bar you already know you can't justify buying. You choose the cheaper shampoo, you skip the coffee, you tell yourself water is healthier anyway. And the dangerous part? You're adapting to it. You're becoming someone who thinks this level of stress is normal. Your paycheck lands Thursday morning. By Friday night, most of it already belongs to someone else. Rent, minimum payments, gas, a subscription you forgot to cancel because honestly, the distraction helps. You have $18,400 in student loans, $3,900 on a credit card, and a quiet fear that one unexpected expense could crack your entire month in half. Nobody around you talks about this directly, but everybody's performing the same invisible calculations. Everybody suddenly isn't that hungry. Everybody checks prices before checking texts. Everybody says, "I'm chillin'," while mentally subtracting numbers. This is what financial anxiety really sounds like. Not panic, precision. A constant low-level arithmetic running underneath your entire life. Then you get promoted. A real promotion. At 25, your salary jumps from $41,000 to $56,000. For 2 days, you feel unstoppable. Then, your apartment raises rent. Your car battery dies. Your insurance renews higher. And suddenly, the extra money disappears so cleanly, it almost feels planned. That's when you learn something terrifying.
So you become disciplined. Not inspirational disciplined. Quiet disciplined. The kind nobody notices. You stop buying things to reward yourself for surviving weeks you hated. You start cooking at home. You say no more often. You track spending for the first time and realize the problem was never one giant mistake. It was tiny leaks everywhere. And slowly, your relationship with money changes. You stop seeing it as pleasure. You start seeing it as control. Then, one night at 2:03 a.m., unable to sleep, you find a video explaining compound interest. You almost scroll past it, but one sentence hooks into your brain. Your salary can increase your income. Ownership changes your life. You sit there staring at the ceiling afterward, because deep down, you already know your job has limits. You've seen older coworkers living paycheck to paycheck on salaries that once sounded rich to you. That realization scares you more than being broke. So you start building something. Not confidently, not publicly, quietly. A freelance skill, a tiny online service, a digital product that makes $87 its first month. Then $310. Then $1,100. And one random Saturday afternoon, while eating leftovers in sweatpants, you make money from something you built 3 weeks earlier. That moment changes you permanently. Because now you understand leverage. Now you understand why some people stop chasing overtime. You begin noticing things you never saw before. How exhausted everyone looks. How trapped high earners can still be. How society praises stability while quietly punishing dependence. And suddenly, your fear evolves. You no longer fear hard work. You fear building nothing.
At 28, your net worth crosses $40,000. It feels unreal. You remember the version of you who used to panic over a $60 overdraft. Now, you have investments, a savings cushion, an emergency fund. And yet, you still hesitate before ordering expensive meals, still feel guilty resting, still check your bank account before bed. Because money moves faster than identity. Your circumstances can improve in 2 years, Your nervous system takes longer to believe it. Then, things accelerate. Your side income grows bigger than your paycheck twice in the same year. Your investments return $6,800 while you sleep. You read books about business models instead of productivity hacks now. You stop asking, how do I make more money? And start asking, how do I build things that keep producing? That shift changes everything. At 31, your net worth hits $220,000. You thought success would make life simpler. Instead, it makes decisions heavier. Because now every hour has a price attached to it. Every distraction feels expensive. Every wrong relationship feels costly. Some friendships start straining, not because anyone says anything directly, but because growth changes conversation. You stop bonding over complaints. You start thinking long-term. And long-term thinking is isolating. People love ambition until it changes your availability.
Then one night, you cross $500,000. $503,441. You stare at the number in silence. You expected fireworks. Instead, you feel pressure. Because now the game is real. Now your decisions matter at scale. One good move shifts years. One bad move burns months. But this is also the moment you realize something almost nobody understands. Wealth is not built through intensity. It's built through endurance. The people who win aren't always smarter. They just stay in the game longer without breaking emotionally. At 35, your investments are producing more than your first full-time salary ever did. You own equity in 2 businesses. You have a portfolio crossing 7 figures. And still, you wake up anxious some mornings. Because nobody tells you this part. Once survival disappears, meaning becomes the problem. You spent years chasing freedom. Now you have some. And freedom is strangely uncomfortable when you're not used to it. You begin valuing different things. Silence. Health. Time without urgency. You stop admiring people with expensive lifestyles. You start admiring people who control their attention. The truly wealthy person isn't always obvious anymore. It's the person who can disappear for a month without their life collapsing. The person whose calendar isn't controlled by fear.
But there's another side to this climb, a quieter side. As your world expands, relatability shrinks. You sit in meetings where people discuss million-dollar losses calmly. You hear someone call a $90,000 mistake a learning experience. And for a second, you remember being 22 years old debating whether you could afford extra guacamole. That version of you still exists, just farther away now. And eventually, after years of building, sacrificing, optimizing, enduring, you uncover the truth nobody explains at the beginning. Money absolutely changes your life, but it also changes what your life is about. At first, money is survival. Then it becomes freedom. Then it becomes leverage. And eventually, it becomes a mirror. Because once money stops being the emergency, you finally meet yourself without excuses. That's the part nobody prepares you for. Some people spend their whole lives trying to become rich. Very few stop long enough to ask what becoming rich is slowly turning them into. And somewhere tonight, there's a 22-year-old staring at an $842 balance under fluorescent grocery store lights. He thinks this story is about escaping poverty. He thinks the destination is comfort. He doesn't know yet that every level comes with a trade. Attention, identity, relationships, peace. The numbers compound, but so do the sacrifices. And the machine never asks whether you understand the price before it starts moving.